Leading 3-1, the Celtics will be without Jason Tatum. The star had surgery on a ruptured right Achilles. That happened late in the fourth quarter of Monday's loss to the Knicks. The team said the surgery was a success and that no timetable for Tatum's return is available. Golden State looking to stay alive tonight. They'll try and beat the Timberwolves at the Target Center in Minneapolis and force Game 6 back in San Francisco. In a stunning move, Major League Baseball removed Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson, along with other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. That means that Rose and Jackson are now eligible for election into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Commissioner Rob Manfred ruled that baseball's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
You don't have to sink a 30-footer from the end of your driveway to come out of the NBA playoffs smelling like a rose. SportsGrid brings you all the angles, insights, and odds.
And more to make you a winner.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the two best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, listen, I don't know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
Oh, the best every day now officially underway. Welcome in, welcome in. It is Moneyline. It's your boy Donnie Rightside here on a solo mission on a hump day Wednesday, a massive Major League Baseball card that we're going to handicap from top to bottom coming up. You know I got you covered on that. Yesterday, split team totals, underwhelming on RBI props. Some things just aren't adding up for me over the past couple days, but also the numbers get better and better each day. Now that we're in the midway points of May, we're going to introduce in our XFIP minus numbers, which then takes the underlying value of a pitcher and measures them up where they're actually pitching and which ballpark, and sets them to in league, American League and National League average of 100. That'll be fun to start to talk about that and say why we're making some of these changes and what we can do about that. But as you know, I love to talk about the hot topics. We are going to talk some NBA today. No doubt about it. Not about the NBA draft, which Sixers got third. Number one overall goes to Dallas. Dallas then says they're not going to trade that number one overall pick for Cooper Flag, as they shouldn't. But then again, they did trade Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll see if they can make amends for that and have a better season next year and the like. We'll take a look at the two games that we have tonight on the doubleheader. Take a look at the games which took place last night, with one team getting closed out in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And away we go as I hit the retweet button. If you're watching here on Restream on our YouTube channel, SportsGrid On Demand, thanks for chiming in. Darren Filippi is already out there having fun rolling through. Also, the app. If you don't have the SportsGrid app, what are you doing? Get the SportsGrid app wherever all apps are available so you can watch, listen, and learn and become a more informed handicapper. And also, make sure you get a lot of that entertainment in that we certainly love to provide here at the SportsGrid Network. SportsGridRadio.com, and as well as what you're listening on mainly, possibly on the Sirius app, Sirius XM Channel 159, and away we go. Doubleheaders in Major League Baseball. We'll get to those. A game that's actually going to be starting 5 minutes after Moneyline ends today as the start of one of those doubleheaders, and there's a doubleheader in Philadelphia, which, man, it is still raining hard here, at least in southern New Jersey. We'll see if they can actually figure out how to play a double header today in the city of brotherly love. But other baseball news did drop overnight, or yesterday, I should say, after we were off the air. And that's Pete Rose, with now his eligibility back in place here for the Hall of Fame. And it's a long and windy tale for the Hit King, one of the single best players in the history of the sport, one of the single best winners in the history of the sport. So many years, so many different teams, but prominently you probably would remember Pete Rose from the Philadelphia Phillies, finally bringing a World Series championship home in 1980 for them, along with Mike Schmidt and a host of others. He was sort of that missing link here, but certainly that big red machine in Cincinnati, which he was certainly a big part of that as well. But the past is troubling. We're not going to take a look at some indiscretions that have popped up over the years with Pete off of the field. We're strictly going to keep this to an MLB conversation and what he did within the confines of MLB. Nobody was a better hitter than Pete Rose in the history of Major League Baseball. Should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. 100% of the votes going in his direction. But the reason he wasn't, he was banned from baseball. Why? Because he bet on baseball. The one card, you can do a lot of things in Major League Baseball, particularly back in the day. You can get in trouble with the law. You can not be a nice guy. You can do things that were not in your best indiscretions, but you cannot bet on Major League Baseball, and Pete Rose absolutely did that. And for the people out there that say, well, now, Donnie, it's legal to bet on baseball, you still can't do it in your sport. You still can't play a sport or manage a sport or be in the front office and have inside information and affect the outcomes of the game. And some people out there might think and say, hey, man, Pete only said he bet on his team. What's wrong with that? You always bet your team to win. Pete didn't only do that. Who are we kidding here? Guy was betting for and against his team left and right. And so, well, he only says it was for. Understand this. Why is Pete Rose betting on his team or against his team? Because number one, he's probably a gambling degenerate. We'll accept that. But number two, if you are down, like let's just say you're a football bettor or an NBA bettor, which he probably was as well, what's the best way you can make your money back? Having inside information by being a manager in Major League Baseball. Case in point, let's just say today you see a line of minus 180 as a favorite. Let's just say the Reds were a minus 180 favorite when Pete was managing the ball club. You know how to turn that into a profit for yourself? Say, you know what? Or let's just say whatever. Let's use the line per se. And you go, all right, here's what's going to happen today. I'm going to bet the other team at a plus 160 price. All right, call it in your bookie, send it, signed, sealed, and delivered. And then later in the afternoon, go, okay, I'm going to scratch my top two hitters in the lineup, and two of my best bullpen guys are not going to be available in this game. Just won't release that information until closer to game time. And then also, I'm going to pull my starting pitcher early by, say, the fourth inning, even if he's not struggling at that point, in hopes that you would lose that baseball game and cash in your ticket as a plus 160, plus 170 underdog. That's how it gets done here. Have you ever heard of a mob boss or a mob figure trying to fix a game and go, all right, I'm going to get to this college kid tonight. Hey, kid, you guys are favored by 7.5 points. You better win that game by more than 7.5 points. No, it's you guys are favored by 7.5 points. Miss every free throw and turn the basketball over at every turn you get so you don't cover. You can automatically miss shots. You can't automatically make shots. You can dribble the basketball up the court and protect the basketball, absolutely, but you can also dribble the basketball court up and dribble it off your foot multiple times or make terrible passes that lead to 6 or 7 points in each half that could sway whether or not you cover that spread. You can go to the free throw line, up 7 points, needing to cover 7.5, and miss the front end of a 1-1 on purpose and make it look good doing it. You can't guarantee you make that free throw. You might try it, but there's no 100% mark. There's a 100% chance when you're trying to miss a free throw, you're going to miss that free throw shot. No doubt in my mind. So Pete Rose, certainly a lightning rod right now. Will he get in? I don't know. But also, the fact that people have brought up like, oh, man, did Pete dirty? You didn't allow this news to get in before he passed away in September of 2024. Yeah, no kidding. Because Pete Rose was a thorn in the side of Major League Baseball for decades here, just never admitting him being wrong. And the reason I bring this up too is understand this with Pete Rose. And I always say this, us human beings as a society, we are forgiving people for the most part. Admit what you did wrong, and we can get past it, and we can move forward. Pete never did that. And every time you thought he was going to do it, he always backtracked and made it convoluted and Well, I didn't do anything wrong and this and that. All he had to do when he was back in the day was at the Star Report. I don't even know what report it was, whatever it was from Major League Baseball, they called it. When they had him dead to rights, just to come out and admit, I was the degenerate. I was in a bad spot, down on my luck. I needed money. I never thought I was doing anything wrong at the time, but now I realize I was damaging the sport's credibility. The sport that I loved has made me a hero to millions of people out there. I come here on bended knee, swallow the sword. I am so sorry this happened. Can you forgive me, Major League Baseball and the public? You know what they would have done? At the time, probably said, no, we can't, but we can always revisit this later. And I guarantee you, if Pete Rose was remorseful within a decade of him being banned from Major League Baseball, he would have been reinstated to Major League Baseball. But every time he got a chance to drive that needle back at Major League Baseball, he did it. Cooperstown inductions, how many times he had book signings and at the card shop up the street while the ceremony was going on and acting like nothing was wrong and Major League Baseball was doing him dirty. They decided to do him dirty at the end and not make him eligible for the Hall of Fame until he passed away. That's the story of Pete Rose, people. It's just what it is. We'll get to some scheduling news for the NBA next. We'll talk NFL and NBA action, and then a full Major League Baseball card here on a Wednesday. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Moneyline. We'll be right back.
Of summer have returned and taken the field for the great American pastime. You should monetize that. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. R&B singer and former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs, Cassie, testified that he abused and sexually exploited her for years Tuesday. She is the star witness for prosecutors who accuse Combs of using his status as a powerful executive to orchestrate a deviant empire of exploitation, coercing women into abusive sex parties and becoming violent if they refuse. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has agreed to restore climate change-related web pages to its websites after it was sued over the deletions in February. The lawsuit argued that the deletions violated rules around citizens' access to government information. U.S. officials have indicted 2 alleged Mexican drug cartel leaders on narco-terrorism charges. The indictments come after the Trump administration in February designated the Sinaloa cartel and 7 other Latin America crime organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
You don't have to sink a 30-footer from the end of your driveway to come out of the NBA playoffs smelling like a rose. SportsGrid brings you all the angles, insights, and odds.
And more to make you a winner.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Right back at it. We're talking a little NFL action right now. Not on the field yet, but the schedule release in full is due out today. But we are getting those leaks and some interesting game matchups here. Just pulled out one of the leak sites here. NFL Week 10, Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers will take place 2025 Christmas Day. Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL Black Friday game this year is the Chicago Bears at the Philadelphia Eagles on a Friday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Love that. Thanksgiving game, one of them has been announced. Actually, 2 of them have been announced, to be honest. So this is a little bit late. This one is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, which is a very compelling matchup, which is nice to see on Thanksgiving Day. Putting a good team up against the Dallas Cowboys. And I believe to start that day It is the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. And then the international card has been released yet. The only one that we don't know is week 1, September 5th from Brazil. The Chargers will be playing in that game. But what we think to be is the Kansas City Chiefs to be that Friday, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles opening up the season against the Dallas Cowboys. Also, Fox's doubleheader Saturday coming up in the month of December, which is Saturday, December 20th. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. So each and every 30 minutes, it feels like we're getting a new leak on some games and some information to have fun with here at this point. And certainly, it's right around the corner, man. You can feel it. We're midway through the month of May. All we need to do is get through the rest of May. And again, baseball's great. We love it. Then we got to get through June. And July's football month. Teams go to camp, preseason games, and away we go into the season there. Chat box in there. As I said, Darren's in there. Time to make some dough. Absolutely. Sean B says, what's up, DRS? How's it going? And Mr. Jay Fogarty, Bryce Harper, 11 of 22 with 6 bombs off Eric Fetty. Yeah, we're focused on Fetty. There's no doubt about that. But before we get to Major League Baseball, too, let's get the people caught up here on the NBA and what took place last night. Exciting times in the NBA. I love the NBA postseason. I just hate the regular season. The Pacers, a 114-105 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers last night, which saw Tyrese Halliburton, the most overrated player in the NBA according to its players, in a closeout game on the road, scored 31 points, have 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. He was great. Donovan Mitchell, who couldn't hit water from a boat with his shots yesterday, hit a couple threes down the stretch, wasn't enough. He scored 35 points, had 9 rebounds and 4 steals while he was hobbled around, and they got beat. The Pacers knock off the top-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second year. The question is going to be who they play, and we'll get to that in just a few moments. The Thunder and the Nuggets, entertaining game last night, which saw the Nuggets win the first quarter, the Nuggets win the second quarter, and the Nuggets win the third quarter, but lost the fourth quarter by 15 points in route to a loss of 112-105 to the Thunder, who now the Thunder take an advantage series lead of 3-2 over the Nuggets, with Game 6 coming back up in Denver. But that's one the Nuggets are going to wish they had. They just folded up late, and it wasn't because of Nikola Jokic. 44 points, 15 rebounds, wasn't good enough. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists. Now, today, we do have a doubleheader in the association, and 2 games which 2 teams are looking to close out. The New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics in game number 1, and the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves in game number 2. If you look at that Knicks-Celtics game tonight, 7 o'clock from the Garden, that line opened up in New Jersey at FanDuel at -5. It now sits at 4.5 across the board with a heavy ticket count skewed towards the New York Knicks, and rightfully so. Total in that game opened up at 208.5. Most outlets showing 207.5. Game number 2 tonight, 9:30 start. The Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves looking to close out the Golden State Warriors tonight. That line opened up at 10, and some outlets as high as 11s and 10.5 now that are sitting across the board. The total, which opened up at 203, now sits at 202 to 202.5, depending on where you're shopping out here at this point. Big Ferrari out here with his Pacers, enjoying life, understandably so, because they're moving on. But who do they play tonight? And by the way, how are you betting these games tonight, guys? Let me ask you that question to start. 7 o'clock tonight, because last night I told you, I thought the Pacers would be able to win that game. 7.5 points, and also talking to Kevin yesterday on the show, we knew that once Donovan Mitchell was expected to play and officially be in the starting lineup, that line would increase. Went from 7.5 up to 8.5. Still lost, still got beat up. Easy cover yesterday for the Indiana Pacers. Didn't really have a great feel on the night game. A lot of points was coming towards the Denver Nuggets. Maybe it was going to be a blowout, maybe not. Ends up, as we just told you, that the Thunder won that basketball game but did not cover the spread. Tonight, though, I look at that Knicks-Celtics game and say to myself, yes, it's a heavy public count. Same thing it was on the Pacers yesterday. The Boston Celtics are a quality team. It's hard to win playoff games on the road against anybody. We understand that. But this would be a little bit different for me if I looked at that spread and said, yeah, okay, the New York Knicks are looking to close out the Boston Celtics today, but why is that important? Because, Celtics are getting 4.5 points on their home court. They're not. It's the complete opposite, guys. The Boston Celtics are laying the 4.5 points against the New York Knicks without their best player in Jason Tatum, who they did have Jason Tatum for the first 4 games Didn't get injured till 3 minutes ago in the fourth quarter when they were already down just about double digits at this point. Now you're taking away Tatum, who dropped 40 in the Garden, and they couldn't win that game, where now he's not going to be around, but yet they're still favored at home. I get it. They have a championship pedigree, which is what we'll talk about with the Warriors in just a second here. But the simple fact for me is, I'm not saying the wrong team is favored, but I'm saying the wrong team is favored. There is no way in hell. Now, look, I have a trained eye in handicapping. That line to me is screaming Boston Celtics at -4.5. It's screaming, Donnie, take it. It's free money. It's crazy how this number would be here. But I still have to believe in that bet. This isn't Jason Tatum hobbled with an ankle injury where, guys, win one for me. I promise you'll be back in game number 6 and we'll win this series. Tatum is never coming back. The Celtics understand they are not winning a championship this year. Can they muster up enough juice in game number 5 to say, you know what? Let's ride the adrenaline without Jason Tatum in the lineup? Could be. But I'm not betting on that. The Boston Celtics had 2 big leads in games 1 and 2 in the Garden. They lost both of those games. The Knicks have won both games in the Garden this year in Boston. I think they win again tonight. And if they don't, I'm taking the 4.5. Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves. I just look at that line and say, it's just really fun. Do I know how the Warriors are going to score? Not necessarily. I think the Timberwolves win. Yes, I do. They're favored by double. Take 11.5. Stop the madness. The NBA in action. You know what? Time to talk baseball, and we'll do it next right here on Moneyline.
SportsGrid. Stamping out the boredom in baseball year after year. We bring you all the angles, insights, and information you need. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1986, Reggie Jackson hits career home run number 537, passing his childhood hero, Mickey Mantle, into 6th place on the all-time home run list, and won 2 World Series MVPs, and became known as Mr. October for his 3 home run performance in Game 6 of the 77 series.
Reggie Jackson. Goodbye.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
New artificial intelligence research at the Institute of Science Tokyo intends to revolutionize the creation of perfume.
The sweet smell of petunias.
AI programmed with mass spectrometer profiles of essential oils rapidly creates new scents.
Subtle hints of desperation eau de toilette.
With user-defined odor descriptors.
Slightly burnt toast cologne.
Eliminating trial and error.
The clean woody scent of my laundry basket.
AI streamlining labor-intensive specialized perfuming means scalable production and unique fragrances.
I call it all the sweaty tapeworm.
Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Football full circle.
If the guy's not ready, get rid of him. You're making it sound like this is Aaron Rodgers when he won a Super Bowl back in 2011. He's nowhere near that type of quarterback. We're acting like this guy is the savior and the cherry on top for the Pittsburgh Steelers to just race to an AFC championship. When is enough enough?
It's Football Full Circle with Ben Stevens and Joe Lisi. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. In baseball, a batter gets 3 strikes. In sports gaming,
you get 1.
No do-overs. You need all the help you can get. And that's what you get with us, your trusted source for gaming odds and more. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Hey now, right back at it here. Best hour of your day. You know it's underway. We're having fun. A little NBA topics, NFL topics, Major League Baseball, and Pete Rose as the show rolls along, and this is our focal point now as we start to get into some Major League Baseball. And understand this, as I was talking before the show, or actually during the show to open it here, we're taking a look here at some different statistics that you can sort of bring into your Major League Baseball season as it continues. We had a very good month of April. It was a lot of fun. Struggling here the past 2 to 3 days, specifically with RBI props, case in point yesterday, the Boston Red Sox, who I did like as a team total, hit their number. But the Detroit Tigers and the Boston Red Sox scored 19 runs yesterday. I cashed in 1 out of my 4 RBI props in that game. Like, what are the chances that that happens? And you're not just taking a flyer on some bum hitter in the lineup. Good statistics. Everything reads through. 19 runs in the game. Worst case scenario should have been 3 for 4, but you probably should have swept the board, and you didn't there. It happens. It's understandable. I get that from time to time. Pete Crow Anderson came through yesterday, or Armstrong, came through yesterday with a couple RBI props in that Chicago game. Wasn't good enough. It wasn't for the lack of the statistics weren't there, and you're trying to struggle with some things. Sometimes it just doesn't work out in your favor. Now, when we take a look today and look at the pitching matchups, a lot of things do correlate, guys, right? You hear me use the terms, the ERA numbers, which we don't really pay attention to, but just use it as a baseline to understand the value of some of the analytical numbers. The XFIP numbers that we like to use, the underlying value of the pitcher itself, and the exact definition of XFIP, expected fielder independent pitching, which means no fielders. We're worried about just what the pitcher does. And also, home runs are calculated as 10.5% of fly balls induced. So it doesn't matter how many times the baseball leaves the yard. We're just taking into the percentages here of what that might be for every fly ball, which makes sense, which again, strikeouts, walk rates, all that stuff goes into it here. But now, as we start to get into, and pitchers have multiple starts under their belts. Like right now, 20, 30, 40, some guys close to 50 innings pitched on the season, which means they're getting home and away starts to give you a sort of look at how the Major League Baseball season is working for them. So XFIP minus comes into the equation and uses a lot of the same principles here that we take a look at XFIP. The only difference is the minus, it adjusts by league, where the average is 100 and lower is better. So again, if you have an XFIP number of 125, that's poor. If you have an XFIP minus number, XFIP minus, I should have said, of under 100, that's really good. So when we take a look at the pitchers on the card today, again, it's still a correlation. Very rarely you're going to have a pitcher with a really low XFIP and a monster ERA, or really low XFIP and a crazy high XFIP minus. They're correlated. Same thing with those Sierra numbers, which is the skill independent, the skill interactive, ERA, which includes fielding into the equation with pitching. I just want to take a look at the pitchers and how they perform. So Tarek Skubal, who we know is a fantastic pitcher in Major League Baseball. So case in point, his XFIP minus number is 56. Again, 100 is the baseline. He's at 56. And his ERA, 2.08. FIP number, 2.12. XFIP number, 2.34. Sierra, 2.32. See how we go right down that list and their correlated numbers? They're sort of in line, but this just gives that underlying value of the pitcher and where he's been pitching at in his league. Case in point, ballparks, all that stuff factor into that. So the best pitcher on the card is Tarek Skubal. But some guys they might not have heard about with a lot of innings pitched themselves. How about number 2 on the card today out of 31 pitchers? Logan Henderson, Milwaukee. Probably never heard of that name. He's got a 57 XFIP minus, an ERA of 1.50, and an XFIP of 2.27. Now, granted, doesn't have a lot of the bats, but I'm just giving you the values that are coming in here. Middle of the road pitchers on the card, like around 100. Nick Lodolo, Cincinnati Reds, 3.23 ERA, 100 based on the XFIP minus. Bryce Elder of the Braves, 98 XFIP minus, but a 4.97 ERA number. That's why we don't like to pay attention all that much to ERA, because some of those numbers can be really inflated. Case in point again, Will Warren, the New York Yankees. He's got an 84 XFIP minus, which is really good. His ERA, guys, 4.75. We'll slide it down just a little bit. Take a look at Jordan Hicks of the San Francisco Giants. He's got an 89 XFIP minus number. Like, man, that's good. His XFIP number is 3.56. That's pretty good. His ERA, 5.82. Eduardo Rodriguez of Arizona, a 92 XFIP minus, which is above average for a pitcher. ERA, almost 7. See that? Getting a little bit unlucky at that point right now. That's what we're determining. Now, there are pitchers here, let's just say, at 100 or higher, we got 15 pitchers that are average to above average on the card today with XFIP numbers that we want to focus on and try to fade. Those pitchers, we'll start going over that card next, right here on Moneyline.
Playoffs. It all comes down to this. And we'll give you all the the angles to make sure you win a little something something. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
The Dallas Stars took a commanding 3-1 series lead over Winnipeg with a 3-1 win last night in Dallas. Michael Granlund had a hat trick. Jake Ottinger made 31 saves in net. Dallas will look to close things out on the road this Thursday night in Winnipeg. 2 games on the schedule tonight. The Vegas Golden Knights looking to stave off elimination at home. They're down 3-1 in their series against Edmonton. The defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers are at Toronto. The Maple Leafs and Florida tied at 2-2. NBA playoffs last night, the Cavaliers were eliminated. 114-105 the final in Cleveland against the Indiana Pacers. Indiana captures the series 4-1. They were the 4th seed in the East. Cleveland was the top overall seed. The Pacers take on the winner of the Knicks-Celtics series. New York up 3-1. Game 5's tonight. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
There are low prices, and then there are Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I got myself a comfy tee for just $4.99 and a stylish dress for 50% off. Then I found my husband a pair of shorts for under $17. Plus, I earned Kohl's cash. Yup, it doesn't get better than Kohl's lowest prices of the season. So go check them out before it's too late. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offers end May 18th. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Here's comedian Howie Mandel for hands-free Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins.
Yeah, I'm holding a new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-in sneaker, and first of all, I barely know I'm holding it. It's that light. You see, Cozy Fit is a cool new sneaker where the upper is made of a soft quilted material. It's kind of like a little puffer jacket for your feet, except it looks like a super stylish sneaker.
Introducing new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins, the latest comfort creation from Skechers. You can find Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Let's keep it real. Baseball can be boring. That's where SportsGrid comes in. Nothing livens up those 9 innings like sports gaming. You might experience something you've never felt in a baseball game, a quickened pulse. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Lunch hour is just upon us here, and also Major League Baseball starts today for 1 doubleheaders at 12:05 Eastern. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies, I told you, are supposed to get a doubleheader in today at 1:05. Still raining. I'm I don't know, maybe 30 minutes from the ballpark from my house. But it's constant raining from yesterday all the way through to today. It'll be interesting to see if that game starts on time, but you know they'll probably shoehorn those games in, which can be good and can be bad at times, which means umpires understand the task at hand where everything is a strike. And again, you have to think out the process of what you want to do, because we're going to talk about pitchers that we like to fade, and one of those guys in just a few moments is Eric Fedde. But if underlying circumstances matter where they just want to get this game in and everything close to the plate is a strike, that doesn't bode well there for scoring runs. Now, understand this. We'll get to that game in a second. Let's take a look at the pitchers, as I teased before the break, of in the fade category. 100 of an xFIP minus, again, is that baseline. Your average in the pitching markets here, which means you probably have a decent ERA, a decent xFIP number, and it usually goes south from there. But I told you, some of those guys in the upper echelon have ERAs of close to 7, like Eduardo Rodriguez, which means, again, the underlying value, they're just getting unlucky at this point. The guy right at the even breaking point today, the Cincinnati Reds' Nick Lodolo, at a 100 xFIP minus number and a 4.04. So that's where the fades start. I'm not saying I'm fading Nick Lodolo and the Cincinnati Reds today. I'm just telling you guys that's where it starts up. Anything below, I usually stay away from. Even guys like Eduardo Rodriguez with close to a 7 ERA. Oh, you got to buck the trend. No, stick with the numbers long term. It'll make the most sense for you here. That's what it is. Go Fast Troy, DRS and MLB. What could be better? Nothing could be better. King D's sports betting. Braves Nats first 5 under 4.5. So let's get after it today. That's some of the things that the people in the chat box like. If you want to chime in the chat box, you can do it. Go to YouTube. Right in there. SportsGrid, one word, on demand. So it's a total of 3. SportsGrid is 1. Second word on. Third word on demand. Get into the chat box. You'll see we're live right here. You can watch the programs here on the radio anytime you want, right on this channel right here, SportsGrid on Demand. Come in and say hello. Now, again, Nick Lodolo's there. Bailey Ober at a 103. He's going to be starting the first game of that doubleheader at 1 o'clock with him and Dean Kramer. After that, Michael Lorenzen, Ryan Pepio, Davis Martin. Now we're getting into the 110s or higher, starting with Davis Martin. Bailey Falter of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Dean Kramer of the Baltimore Orioles. Antonio Senzatella of the Colorado Rockies. Patrick Corbin comes in with a 3.13 ERA, but a 117 xFIP minus number, letting you know that he's due to get put away pretty soon. Luis Castillo, an under 4 ERA, but a 117 xFIP minus number for Seattle. Eric Fetty, as we talked about, going to start that game for game number 1 of the doubleheader in Philadelphia. He's always on our card, isn't he, guys? A 124 xFIP minus and a 5.02 xFIP number. ERA is manageable, but we're just waiting for that day where he gets pounded, and could be that day today. Kyle Hendricks of the Angels, a 131 xFIP minus, which again, 31% higher than the median. A 5.30 ERA checks out fine. Mitchell Parker, here's an interesting one. 31 guys on the card today that we have at least 5 innings pitched this season. Mitchell Parker has got a 134 xFIP minus. He's got an ERA of 3.97, which isn't terrible, and a high xFIP of 5.44. Where does that measure in? The worst pitcher on the card, which I think I faded every time with mixed results, it's Randy Vasquez of the San Diego Padres, a 152 xFIP minus number. He has a manageable ERA of 3.76, but look at his xFIP, 6.21. Now, the fun part about that is Los Angeles Angels, San Diego Padres, they play tonight at 9:40 p.m. Eastern on the West Coast. That line sits at 8.5, so I'm creeping up to 9. Get yourself in on that 8.5, which we'll get to in a little bit. But those are the pitchers that we're fading. Now, let's go over to the batters so we can get that sort of clean eye. Now, we have some... Let me see here. Let's hit the roster source update here so we can get some of those live batting orders, which are out here. We'll go 30 days on the batting order. We'll take a look at the 30-day pitchers, and we'll take a look at the current season pitchers here. So I already wrote down, guys, 1, 2, 3, 4 team totals that I like. Technically 5, but that final one does include basically an over on the game. So the determination is, how do we actually play this out right now? Rye Cape says, we're live in the chat box, coming over from SiriusXM. See that? Rye's out here. It's easy to hear. My man X-Man's out here. Shout out Virginia Beach as always. Celtics Knicks must-watch TV tonight. I wanted to curse right there. I think I'm allowed to curse, though, on just not on this network, but we can curse on SiriusXM. But we'll keep it professional. Sometimes I get excited. Might just let one loose at times. Apologies if I ever do, but that's how excited I get. Shout out to all the boys in the chat box today. But hear me out on this. 12:05 p.m., Minnesota and Baltimore. Bailey Ober, which I told you, slightly over his xFIP minus number. Taking on Dean Kramer, also slightly over his xFIP number here. Kramer's a 113, a little bit higher than Ober, who is a 103. But if we're looking at those 30-day statistics, here's the interesting part, too, because, again, we're trying to lead you into a point where you can make those educated decisions for yourself, I should say. The xFIP minus number that I started off the show talking about and explaining what it actually meant makes a lot more sense now because you have multiple starts in different ballparks, in your league. So that can be factored in and help you. Also now, the batting statistics, right? Hear me out on this, guys. Why do you like to take a batter? Because why? They're doing damage at the plate against a certain lefty or righty pitcher. At the same time, what happens if your batter started out absolutely red hot first 2 weeks of the season and was hitting 500? But his numbers still look good because he was buoyed by the first 2 weeks. But over the past several weeks, he hasn't been all that good. That's the statistics that you want. Same thing with the pitchers. Like once we get to over 60 days in the Major League Baseball, now you're taking a look at, let's just say, 8 or 9 weeks. We say, how's this pitcher doing? Because I don't care. In the month of July, guys, if my pitcher in 54-degree temperatures and cold winds blowing in, shut out the Detroit Tigers. That doesn't matter. What have you done for me lately? So the statistics now with batters, instead of looking at the season stats, which would have started in late March, you can now go to just the 30-day stats, which again takes it from today on the 14th back to April 14th past month. I don't care what that batter did the first 2 weeks. I don't care that he couldn't get a base hit because it was freezing temperatures and he was just coming out of spring training in Florida. You know what I care about? What did he do the past couple weeks? What did he do in his last 50 at-bats as opposed to his last 100 at-bats, which would take you back to March? See where I'm going here on this? Hot batters, hot pitchers. That's how you get that underlying factor because as well as I do, you guys have been out there. Maybe your golf game's playing real well right now. you know what, man? Just went out and had fantastic last 4 rounds. And you go, well, that was terrible to start the season in March when it was really cold out, but now we're in May. I'm all loosened up and have a lot of rounds under my belt. Same thing in sports, people. A 3-point shooter that knocks down 7 triples the previous game. Do you give a damn that 5 games ago he went 0 for 7? No, he just went 7 for 10. Ride out that hot streak, baby. That's the way it goes. That's the way it does it. So again, looking at the Baltimore-Minnesota game, last 30 days here for Bailey Ober, very good statistics, ISO power number percentage, and weighted on base percentage of lefties, a little bit leaky against righties. But you want this to match up. Only guy I would even look at as an RBI prop in the game is Ramon Laureano. Yeah, Ramon Laureano. High ISO, weighted on base percentage, high as well. Not in love with that. Take a look at Dean Kramer on the other side. For the season, really struggling against lefties, but cleaning that up over the past month. So he's getting better against lefties. You look at the lineup today. Buxton, Larnack, France, Lee, Correa, Castro. These guys over the last 30 days haven't done anything outside of Trevor Larnack against right-handed pitching. Buxton has done very well, so I take that back, and Brooks Lee decent. Ty France, Correa, Castro, Lewis, Bader, Vasquez, all terrible at that point. There's not much action in that 12:05 game. But now we'll get to next, and we're coming up against a commercial break. Right out of the gate, we're going to talk that Philadelphia Phillies-St. Louis Cardinals matchup at 1:05 p.m. with Eric Fetty on the mound against Jesus Luzardo, a heavy favorite to the Phillies against maybe the hottest team in Major League Baseball. Let's talk about the angles to play in that game, or should we be scared off by some of the weather concerns? It's your boy Donnie Rightside of Solo Mission. Be right back. Baseball.
By the end, you might not have a ring on your finger. Stay tuned and you'll have a little something in your pocket. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
In a stunning move, Major League Baseball removed Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson, along with other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. That means that Rose and Jackson are now eligible for election into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Commissioner Rob Manfred ruled that baseball's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths. NBA playoffs tonight, the Celtics host the Knicks Game 5 in Boston, with New York leading 3-1. The Celtics will be without Jason Tatum. The star had surgery on a ruptured right Achilles. It happened late in the fourth quarter of Monday's loss to the Knicks. The team said the surgery was a success and that no timetable for Tatum's return is available. Golden State looking to stay alive tonight. They'll try and beat the Timberwolves at the Target Center in Minneapolis and force Game 6 back in San Francisco. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-source single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese.
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and our Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Springtime. When a young man's fancy turns to
Get your mind out of the gutter.
For sports gaming strategies and information that gives you an unfair advantage, you'll find it all right here.
It's the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Yeah! All right, people, Major League Baseball. Let's get right to it here. Eric Fetty versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Looking at Fetty's underlying value, not very good. A 124 xFIP minus, a 5.02 xFIP number, manageable ERA at 3.86. Let's take a look at Fetty's season as it's underway, right? Doesn't strike a lot of batters out. Last 30 days, 17%. On the season, only 15%. Equal to lefties and righties here. Here's the difference. He's done sensationally well ISO power number weighted on base percentage against lefty batters. 071 on the season, 266 weighted on base percentage for the full season. For the last 30 days, he's actually improved that to an 034 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 263. Now, looking at the Philadelphia Phillies lineup, here's where your advantages are going to come in. I just told you Fedde is not a great strikeout pitcher. Usually you think about the Philadelphia Phillies as a strikeout lineup. That's not the case against right-handed pitching. Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Kepler, and Bohm, along with Rafael Marchand, who's going to be in the lineup today to start game number 1, as opposed to JT Realmuto. All low numbers. Brandon Marsh, the only high K guy, around 30%. So the ball should be in play. Weighted on base percentages that are at least a 310 or above against righties so far, the last 30 days. Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Kepler, and Bohm. And then Marsh actually has a 312. Low man on the totem pole, Nick Castellanos in the middle of that lineup. Decent walk rates as well for the Philadelphia Phillies. But here again, rain is in the forecast. This game's coming up soon, and I'm going to go to the Phillies site right now because I just want to check them out on social media to see if we have any updates. Because the reason is, again, this does factor in because it is a doubleheader. And understand this, Major League Baseball clubs do not want to hang around extra time in a city if they don't need to, which means do the pitchers get sort of extra benefits of strike calls here? Now, obviously, the starting lineup is out, but it doesn't say anything that the game will be delayed. That's something to keep an eye on. But usually for myself, like I have the Phillies team total as a circled number today. I'm going to make that determination after the show. So we have a little bit of time. It's 1:05. Show gets over at 12 o'clock Eastern to say, all right, is this game going to start on time? Then I feel a little bit better. What's the rain prognosis throughout the afternoon? Because if I'm just looking at my weather widget for where I live, it looks like starting around 1 o'clock, it does clear up a bit. And then we should be good the rest of the day. That's huge information right there, because that wasn't the case earlier this morning as I was looking at. So rain should be ending shortly, with still a chance of rain throughout the evening, but not that much. So the Phillies might be a turn on here as a team total. Let me just get a look at some of the price points here. And I have to start with, let's see, we'll go bet 365. So go Major League Baseball, Phillies game number 1, Fedde on the mound, team props. The Phillies are a 4.5 at a minus 130. So 5 runs takes the job, or takes enough to get it done. I do think that might be worthwhile. And as you know, if it's out there, we'll tweet it after the show. But it's interesting. Rye Cape says it's raining at CBP right now. Yeah, it probably is, because it's raining by me as well. It looks like around 1 o'clock that's going to clear up. So maybe the tarp stays on just a little bit longer and maybe a slight delay. But it looks like there's a legitimate chance that we actually can get both of those games in. Chat box out here. John Corb's in here. Celtics 30-1 to win the chip. Jaylen Brown is going to step up. I don't know about that. Nuggets 30-1, been in every game. Yeah, the Nuggets are an interesting one. Right, Cape says Brandon Lowe, home run. Brandon Lau, whoever you want to say it. Don't matter to me. Let's cash in some tickets. Abby the best is the best. Celtics win tonight because I put a ticket in for the Knicks money line. Thank me later. Hey, man, using the reverse psychology never hurt anybody. Right, Cape says I'm on the Celtics too. Hate being on the opposite side of DRS. That is what it is in the NBA, man. Boy, round 2 has been absolutely crazy. Aaron Schoen jumped in late, so starting from the beginning. There you go. You can always watch it back. That's why we love when you get it on SportsGrid On Demand right here. Type it in. SportsGrid On Demand on YouTube. Get in the chat box and let's get in here, say hello. Jordan's over here as well. Of course, he's on the Diamondbacks money line. What else could he be on at this point, right? But today, the Phillies, a viable option for that team total. Let's keep it moving here because I'm not fading Jesus Luzardo of the Phillies. He's got too good of numbers here. All right. Next game up, 1 o'clock start, Milwaukee and Cleveland. Logan Henderson taking on Gavin Williams. If we look at Logan Henderson, even though he does have limited starts this year, 21 batters faced, which means 1 start basically. He's got good numbers. You got to remove him off the card, guys. It's too easy. Like he's got a 150 ERA, a 177 Sierra number, a crazy low xFIP minus. It's tempting to do, and it might hit because there's 73-degree temperatures in Cleveland today. I have to lay off of that one. Milwaukee on the other side going up against Gavin Williams. He's about midway on the card, a 94 xFIP minus and a 3.85 xFIP number. Last 30 days, he's gotten taken to task a little bit with right-handed batters. However, outside of Rhys Hoskins, not a lot of love in that lineup for me, so we pass on that one. Minnesota and Baltimore, game number 2 today. Simeon Woods Richardson, a guy who I do like to fade, had a really good start last time out. 118 xFIP minus, a 480 xFIP number. But if we're taking a look and saying, what has he been doing the past 30 days? Struggling against right-handed batters. Even more so on the season itself. So 77 batters on the season, a 217 ISO. Focus on the last 30 days with Woods Richardson. That goes up to a 278. So you're focused then saying, right, on right-handed batters. Again, outside of Ramon Laureano, like Mountcastle, average. You know the let goes. Holiday, Henderson, Rutschman, Kierstad, Mullins, all left-handed batters. I'm not saying remove them from the equation, but Simeon Woods Richardson has been better against those guys as of late. The only legitimate chance would be Laureano. Now, today, I'm going to tell you right now, my focus really isn't on the RBI market. It's not. Cade Povich on the opposite side is a lefty. He comes in on the card today. Where's my guy Cade ranked? He's not too far down. He's not too far up, right? Where you at, Cade? Cade Povich. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to refresh this in a little bit. But Cade Povich, a lefty, doing well against lefties theoretically, getting shelled against right-handed batters. Now, you take a look at game number 2, which we don't know the starting lineups. Buxton and Correa, if you're looking at RBI, along with Harrison Bader, that's where I would go. But we don't know who the starting lineup is going to be, so we can't really make an adjustment there. Eduardo Rodriguez and Jordan Hicks. Told you earlier today, some high ERA numbers, but some really good, or manageable, I should say, xFIP minus numbers. Hicks has good numbers against lefties and righties. Won't really be any fades, even though that lineup looks great for the Arizona Diamondbacks against right-handed pitching. You take a look on the mound, Eduardo Rodriguez is a lefty, struggling with lefty and righty batters. Elliot Ramos having a great season so far. Matt Chapman over the past 30 days has elevated himself. We'll get into it more. One more segment to go. It's Moneyline, people.
We don't care what your high school girlfriend told you. You are a winner. Or at least you will be if you keep it here. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
For anyone who's worried about back taxes, has not filed tax returns, and doesn't know what to do next, stop and listen. Not filing your taxes can have severe consequences, especially in this political climate. Now that COVID is over, the IRS is getting aggressive, massively increasing enforcement and collection efforts. With politicians making all sorts of promises, especially when it comes to taxes, hiding and not dealing with your taxes will cause you harsh legal and financial ramifications. But right now, the IRS offers forgiveness and writes off a massive amount of tax debt. The Tax Doctor offers a free service that helps people get out of IRS collections and back in good standing with the government. Don't hide or bury your head in the sand. Take advantage of our free service. Call now to learn more. 800-816-4492. 800-816-4492. 800-816-4492. That's 800-816-4492.
Carver and Lisi.
The NBA draft boring. It's like watching paint dry. If 5 people know who the top 5 players are taken in the draft, I'll give you a Twinkie. The NBA is gutless. It's going down like a dart. What did Nico know? Nico know nothing. 1.8% shot for Dallas to get the #1 overall pick, and they got it, right? Incredible.
It's Carver and Lisi with Mike Carver and Joe Lisi. Weekdays 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. If you want to be an alpha, you've got to get the winning edge. It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory with the winning edge. You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
By the way, did you guys know there's a movie coming out here that's called Madden? Yes, it's about John Madden. Can you guess the stars? Nicolas Cage is going to be John Madden, which I see the picture of him. And Christian Bale is Al Davis. It says production began in April of 2025 with first look images released on May 13th, which was yesterday. And the film is in progress right now, produced by Amazon MGM. So how about that? Christian Bale as Al Davis. What the stories they could be told in that. A couple pretty good actors in there, see how it turns out, but just interesting to see there at that point. Again, schedule release day coming soon in totality by the end of the night for the NFL. Let's keep it moving here, Major League Baseball. Will Warren's on the mound today for the New York Yankees, taking on the Seattle Mariners. If we look for a Will Warren, where is he at? Where are you at, Will? I think Will had some better numbers than I thought he did. I could be wrong here. Now, why don't I see him in here? Let's go. New York Yankees, where are you at? NYY. Oh, there he is. He's top 7 today, Will Warren, at 84 xFIP minus and a 3.43 xFIP number. Pretty impressive, Will. So we're not going to go against any team or any players there. Luis Castillo on the opposite side. He's actually a little bit lower on the card, which is interesting to me. He's got a 117 xFIP minus and an xFIP of 4.74. Could some of those Yankees be in play today in one of the true pitcher ballparks in Major League Baseball? I didn't have them circled. I didn't. Game number 2 for the Phillies. That's going to be Aaron Nola taking on Sonny Gray. Not in love with that game. Boston and Detroit. Let's see here. A little bit later on, that is going to be Hunter Dobbins versus Tarek Skubal. Yeah, you get the point. We're not making any changes on that game or doing anything there. Here's an interesting one that's coming up right now, though. Ryan Pepio on the mound for the Tampa Bay Rays today. Last 30 days, right-handed batters, 53 of them getting the best of him at the plate. 97 batters on the season from the right-hand side, getting the best of them. Struggling with power numbers to lefties to the tune of a 288 over his last 61 batters. You take a look at the lineup today anticipated for the Toronto Blue Jays. Bichette, Guerrero, Springer, Varsho, Kirk, Barger, and Lukes. That's 7+ batters with weighted on base percentages with low K rates. They're circled. So the Phillies team total, I have circled for 105. The Toronto Blue Jays team total, I have circled up here for a little bit later on today. There you go. That's 2 of them. Let's keep going before we end the show out here. Pittsburgh and New York. Bailey Falter is on the mound today. And if you look at Bailey Falter, he's got a 112 xFIP minus and a 4.55 xFIP number. Rain is in the forecast, not great conditions, but hear me out on this. Bailey Falter does have some pretty good statistics to lefty and righty batters. So this one's more of a question mark to say, what are you trusting, the lineup, or are you going to trust the pitcher here? Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Marte, Acuna, and Taylor. 7+ batters with low K rates and high weighted on base percentages going up against Falter. I have the Mets circled for right now. That could change because it's going a little bit against what I want to do. Usually it's a really high xFIP number or xFIP minus number, and also the ability for that batter to hammer that left-handed pitcher. The Mets have done very well against lefties, but Falter does show some pretty good statistics non-analytically against the lefty and righty batter combinations this season. Chicago White Sox and the Cincinnati Reds. Davis Martin is on the mound today going up against Nick Lodolo. I don't really think I put anything on this game. Did I? No, I didn't. I didn't have any circles. Davis Martin's a bad pitcher, though, to be honest. He's not great. A 110 xFIP minus number and a 4.45. Just not enough in that lineup here for the Cincinnati Reds for me to push the button. Mitchell Parker today has got a sky-high xFIP minus number of 134. I don't love the batters today for the Atlanta Braves, but I understand if you are going out and just betting the Braves today because Parker's high xFIP numbers, can't fault you on that. Washington going up against Bryce Elder, and Bryce Elder coming in here. Where's Bryce? Let's see if we can find him. That is the up and down we go. There we go. 15th on the card at a 31. A 98 xFIP minus, a 3.94 xFIP number. Nothing in that game already. Miami and Chicago. Hello, Cubs. Now, here we go. Ryan Weathers has no statistics this year. It's a minor league pitcher. Actually did fairly well last year, but he's been a known tomato can. You look in the lineup tonight here for the Chicago Cubs. Swanson, Tucker, Suzuki, Kelly, Horner, PCA. That's 6 batters there with sky-high ISOs and weighted on base percentages. I did circle them as a possible play. And maybe the best overall play of the night, Angels, Padres, late night tonight, people. 2 of the 3 worst pitchers matching up today based on xFIP. Over 8.5 for San Diego and LA makes a lot of sense with the focus being on the San Diego Padres at the plate. There you go. Wednesday hump day. The card's capped. Let's let the action go. Chat box was awesome. Boy down the right side, JP, we're out.
actionable insights, analysis, odds, and expert perspective on sports gaming. If we do say so ourselves, this is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Schedule tonight. Down 3-1 in their series against Edmonton. The defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers are at Toronto. The Maple Leafs and Florida tied at 2-2. NBA playoffs last night, the Cavaliers were eliminated. 114-105 the final in Cleveland against the Indiana Pacers. Indiana captures the series 4-1. They were the 4th seed in the East. Cleveland was the top overall seed. The Pacers take on the winner of the Knicks-Celtics series. New York up 3-1. Game 5's tonight. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
There are low prices, and then there are Kohl's lowest prices of the season. I got myself a comfy tee for just $4.99 and a stylish dress for 50% off. Then I found my husband a pair of shorts for under $17. Plus, I earned Kohl's cash. Yup, it doesn't get better than Kohl's lowest prices of the season. So go check them out before it's too late. Select styles, some exclusions apply. Offers end May 18th. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Here's comedian Howie Mandel for hands-free Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins.
Yeah, I'm holding a new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-in sneaker, and first of all, I barely know I'm holding it. It's that light. You see, Cozy Fit is a cool new sneaker where the upper is made of a soft quilted material. It's kind of like a little puffer jacket for your feet, except it looks like a super stylish sneaker.
Introducing new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins, the latest comfort creation from Skechers. You can find Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
If you want to be an alpha, you've got to get the winning edge. It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory with the winning edge. You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle. It is FFC, all a part of the SportsGrid Radio Network and Sirius XM Channel 159. He is the mastermind of the pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. An hour together up until 1 p.m. Eastern Time on this Wednesday, otherwise known in NFL circles as the official schedule release day around the National Football League. By the time tonight comes to a close, all 32 NFL teams will know the entirety of their 18-week, 17-game regular season schedule for the 2025 NFL campaign. Where, who, when, and exactly what time those games will be slotted for the entirety of our 18-week regular season slate in the NFL, Joe, in 2025. We've gotten some of the marquee matchups already this week, a few more delivered bright and early on this Wednesday. And as we get ready for the schedule release happening tonight around 8 p.m. Eastern, the schedule leaks starting to come out as well from NFL insiders, namely Fox's Jordan Schultz. A lot to break down here in terms of the schedule release, what the early odds are saying, and of course what it tells us all about 2025 in the NFL.
Yeah, we saw another game that came out for Thanksgiving. It'll be Kansas City and Pat Mahomes taking on Dak Prescott. Whether Dallas is actually competitive at that point in the season, time will tell. But that's a marquee matchup in terms of Thanksgiving Day. There'll be 3 games on tap. And now we start to see, the schedule come into shape. And again, that really makes or breaks how we look at some of these teams from the odds perspective, how we look at it in regards to the win totals, whether these teams have a shot. Obviously, the back-to-backs, road games and obviously divisional opponents will always be important. So this is it. This is as important as it gets after the draft leading into the offseason. We'll know a lot more after tonight.
It's a good point, Lisi guy, right? The week-to-week variation of what those spreads look like. It gives you another indication of how the odds makers are viewing these teams. And of course, if you are setting the lines week to week, what that means overall for your win total, your playoff price, your divisional number, conference championship, and of course the big one, the granddaddy of them all, your Super Bowl number as well. Lisi, a big day for marquee matchups for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's start with that Turkey Day game at the Star in Big D. The Cowboys and the Chiefs our second of 3 games on Thanksgiving. Of course, we know Dallas always plays on Thanksgiving. But, Joe, at least in recent memory for me, one of the bigger marquee opponents we have seen the Cowboys host inside the Star, inside AT&T Stadium on Thanksgiving. In the early look at that game, Kansas City already a 4.5-point road favorite against the Cowboys. A couple of marquee matchups already slated for Dallas. Season debut on the road against the reigning Super Bowl champs and their divisional foes from the NFC East in the Eagles. Cowboys a 6.5-point dog. Kansas City a 4.5-point road favorite in Dallas for that second game of our Turkey Day tripleheader.
Yeah, second time they're underdogs, right? And think about, just how they started last year with Dak Prescott. I believe when he got injured, they were still 0-3 at home compared to a 16-0 record over the previous 2 seasons at home in terms of Arlington, right? So this shows you where this team is now. 2 more key battles. They're both underdogs. It's going to take a lot, I believe, to get over the 7.5 win total. But again, if you believe Dallas is in step for a bounce back season, you might take the 4.5 at that particular time against Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, because it is November. If Dallas overexceeds expectations early in the season, they might be a slight favorite or only a slight dog, and then you can get some value in CLV in your pocket come November.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Lazy Guy, because we have already gotten an early glimpse at Dallas this year. And you and I have done football full circle through the off seasons, the past 2 or 3 off seasons entering a new NFL season. And basically, regardless of the result, regardless of the regular season success, regardless of the lack of success in the playoffs for the Cowboys, Dallas has basically entered the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons each and every year with some offseason hype, hope, and optimism. At least one of the 5 best prices to win the NFC, a win total that is already always hovering around double digits. Not the case this year for the Cowboys. Of course, a rookie head coach in Brian Schottenheimer, his first year at the helm in Big D. Dak Prescott coming off an injury. They have lost some talent on both sides of the football, an inept and inexistent run game, frankly, the last few seasons as well. So very key, Joe, for the Cowboys to figure some things out. But that's being reflected in their season outlook. Win total is just 7.5. Sure, the over now has the juice, but Dallas could cash that bet and still finish sub 500 or even outside of the postseason. Playoff success, playoff conversation, hunting down a Lombardi finally for the first time in 3 decades. Different conversation for the Cowboys than their often regular season success, as we have discussed. But we're getting 2 glimpses here at the Cowboys as pretty hefty underdogs against that upper echelon competition, getting nearly a touchdown, albeit on the road, in the season opener against the reigning Super Bowl champs in Philadelphia, getting 4.5 points at home on Thanksgiving against the reigning AFC champs in the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that tells us that Dallas does not have that offseason optimism we're often used to seeing.
Yeah, and they have a lot of questions. And if you just think about the team as a whole, okay, you have Schottenheimer, new head coach, obviously, first time on the sidelines. But then what are you going to get out of Dak Prescott? You hope that he bounces back and is 100% in terms of, the player that he was prior to the injury. But there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that he's going to hit the ground running come week number 1, certainly against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in all of the NFL on the road in the link, and then take it a step further. The second, you can make the argument, second potentially best defense in the NFL might be Kansas City. I mean, Spagnuolo and that defense have stepped up in recent years, so they're going on the road, and we know that in order for Dallas to take the next step, their defense needs to answer the bell.
For sure.
And that's another question mark that needs to be answered before week number 1.
Yeah, it's a really good point as well, of course, Lacey Guy, when you look at where things stand. After losing Dan Quinn, who became the head coach of the Commanders last season, it was Mike Zimmer in there, a wonderful defensive mind. The results just were not there for Dallas. Injury, a part of that, sure, but really not a good defense a season ago. So, of course, with the changes in the coaching staff, Brian Schottenheimer promoted to head coach. Matt Eberflus, former Bears head coach, but often regarded as a talented defensive mind, now becomes the DC in Dallas. Was really good in his 4 years as the defensive coordinator in Indianapolis before taking a head coaching gig in Chicago. As a head coach, obviously, a very different story. More marquee matchups, Joe, for Kansas City released today. Not officially just yet, but in the schedule release leaks that we have. Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports reporting that our Super Bowl 59 rematch will happen very early on in 2025. In fact, week number 2 in Arrowhead, the Chiefs will take on the Eagles in a rematch of Super Bowl 59.
Yeah, and the Eagles have a tough start, obviously, right out of the gate. Yeah. In order for them to get back to a Super Bowl, you're going to have to start at least 1-1 or maybe 2-0 in that matchup. But they're 7-point favorites over a divisional opponent, Dallas. You follow that up with Pat Mahomes and Kansas City looking for revenge. And we saw Kansas City, a few years ago start with Detroit. They got a slow start. You need to start out quick. I think the Eagles are the best team, so we'll see if they can do it.
And the spread is out for that game, although not just official yet. In KC, an ever so slight home favorite to get some revenge against the Birds in that Super Bowl rematch. Much more to come on FFC next.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. And we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin.
He just gives that vibe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. R&B singer and former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs, Cassie, testified that he abused and sexually exploited her for years Tuesday. She is the star witness for prosecutors who accuse Combs of using his status as a powerful executive to orchestrate a deviant empire of exploitation, coercing women into abusive sex parties and becoming violent if they refused. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has agreed to restore climate change-related web pages to its websites after it was sued over the deletions in February. The lawsuit argued that the deletions violated rules around citizens' access to government information. U.S. officials have indicted 2 alleged Mexican drug cartel leaders on narco-terrorism charges. The indictments come after the Trump administration in February designated the Sinaloa cartel and 7 other Latin America crime organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Working as a dedicated Fidelity advisor, I always ask, what's important to you? I'll look at those priorities and goals alongside your full financial picture to build a comprehensive plan designed to help grow and protect your wealth. With proactive portfolio insights and an eye on taxes, I'm here to help you make the most of your money. I'm Laura Maxwell, and I'm a dedicated Fidelity advisor. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Football Full Circle live right here on this Wednesday. Scheduled release day in full around the National Football League, and we're starting to get a few of those schedule leaks. We've got some official marquee matchups already unveiled this week by the NFL and its TV partners. Now a couple of leaks to break down. Joe, on Fox, week number 2 in that America's Game of the Week window, 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. We are expecting bright and early in the 2025 NFL season to see our Super Bowl rematch from a year ago. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they have faced off in a Super Bowl 2 of the previous 3 NFL seasons. The line is out, Lacey Guy, for what that Week 2 matchup would look like right now in KC. The Chiefs having that home field advantage, an ever so slight favorite, 1.5 on the spread, and just 4 cents of difference on the money line right now. -110, Chiefs -106, Eagles. Total standing at 47.5. Lacey Guy, an ever so slight favorite for KC. Are you surprised, or is that just home field advantage early in Arrowhead?
No, not surprised, but because of the revenge factor. But I would still take the point and a half in the money line with the Eagles. Let's not forget, I think people forget in the regular season a couple of years ago when the Eagles started out 10-1, they beat the Chiefs, right? In Arrowhead 21-17 on a Monday night, so it's not like they haven't went in there and won that matchup. And Saquon Barkley wasn't a part of that roster. That was the roster with DeAndre Swift, and that was the year that they fell off a cliff, 1-5 in the second half of the season. So as long as the team is healthy and you have Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and that defense, I think they'll bring it. And again, I think that Kansas City, from a matchup perspective, was just outmanned by a bigger, more physical defensive front. And I don't think it changes. I really think that is the weakness of Kansas City this year. It is the offensive line. They have to protect Pat Mahomes. They need to run the football better. I still think it's running back by committee. They don't have an elite running back, and only time will tell. We'll see if they could, do it. But in order for Pat Mahomes to cover that line, he's going to have to be special, and he's going to have time, and that's still a concern for the Kansas City Chiefs entering the year.
No doubt, Joe. When you look at KC's Super Bowl losses and what we have seen despite this dynastic run for Kansas City, there is no doubt that it's been the offensive line issues for the Chiefs, right? Against the Bucs, 31-9. Terrible offensive line performance. They go out and they add to that O-line. They bring in Joe Thuney. They bring in Orlando Brown to re-solidify that, to keep Patrick Mahomes, their most prized asset, upright and more stable. This past Super Bowl, absolute defensive demolition for Philadelphia. 40-22, Joe, is a rout by any standard, but it was 40-6 midway through that fourth and final quarter. It was all birds all night long, of course, in Super Bowl 59 in the Big Easy. And so when you consider what Kansas City now needs to do to upgrade again, how they approached it. Well, they traded away Joe Thuney. Okay, interesting. Still an all-pro first-teamer as a guard, had to shift out to left tackle because of some injuries there. They get a guy from San Francisco who will now look to anchor the left side of that offensive line. They drafted Joshua Simmons with the final pick of round number 1 this previous April in the 2025 NFL draft. There is no doubt, Joe, they are trying to build up that O-line once again. And now you have a Chiefs team that I have shared many times will enter this season for the first time since 2022, not as those Super Bowl reigning champs and not as the Super Bowl favorites, which I find fascinating, at least in the AFC in comparison. But I do not expect Kansas City to be bad, to win fewer than double-digit games. I think the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West once again. And until somebody knocks them off in the AFC, I'm not going to be betting another team to do so, at least not at the prices the Ravens and the Bills see right now in front of KC.
Yeah, and as long as Pat Mahomes is healthy, he's going to put up numbers, right? He was right under 4,000 yards last year. You look at, they do get Rashee Rice back in that offense, the emergence of Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce showing off his new body, lost 25 pounds. Supposedly he's going to, come back, rejuvenated and maybe, back to the player that he was a couple of years ago. And if that's the case, they're going to be there, to your point. Now, the teams in the division have gotten better. Denver with Bo Nix, and obviously Justin Herbert with Jim Harbaugh and the Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris to run the football. But again, we'll see if the Chiefs prevail. They were pushed to the limit multiple times and won very close games. And again, you're starting out with a matchup against the Eagles. If the Eagles knock them off yet again, and let's say win that game by double digits, from a psychological perspective, how does that affect Kansas City moving forward? That's something to keep an eye on, because if they don't believe they can, challenge for a Super Bowl and they get boat raced by the Eagles by 14 plus, that can affect them in conference play as well.
Yeah, we know there's going to be those sweeping reactions, of course, the week 1, week 2, and all of that. If the Eagles do go into Arrowhead and bum rush KC again, there's going to be some big conversations about this KC team and how true of a contender do they remain in 2025. Felicia, I also find it interesting, right? We know the Eagles are opening up the season on its season debut Thursday, September 4th. We know the Chargers are playing in that Sao Paulo opener in Brazil the following night, Friday, September 5th. There has been some rumored reports that KC will be the opponent in that divisional game in Sao Paulo, but it has not been confirmed just yet. You would think if you're trying to make all things equal for your Super Bowl rematch week number 2, you want the rest to be pretty equal as well and not give one side a large advantage in terms of rest, thus maybe making it seem even more likely that by the time it is announced officially tonight, KC will open its season in Sao Paulo against Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers. That would be a home game in designation for the Bolts. Not exactly the greatest thing I get, to lose home field advantage against the team you are trying to knock off atop the AFC West. Other reported schedule games that have been released for 2025 on the other side of the break here on Football Full Circle.
There's smart and there's not smart. Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Keep it here and win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1986, Reggie Jackson hits career home run number 537, passing his childhood hero, Mickey Mantle, into 6th place on the all-time home run list, and won 2 World Series MVPs, and became known as Mr. October for his 3 home run performance in Game 6 of the 77 series.
Reggie Jackson. Goodbye.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Flying construction robots, coming soon to a building site near you. Swiss researchers have found that precision flying construction robot drones, similar technology to that used to create those beautiful synchronized aerial displays, can be used to precisely position large objects, assisting construction workers at great heights. Synchronized drone swarms autonomously constructing entire buildings in remote locations, hazardous conditions, even cutting down on construction accidents.
Ouch.
Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Moneyline.
Cowboys-Eagles opening night. The Cowboys, who can never win a championship, they're going to watch the Eagles second time raise that banner. America's team. Because the Philadelphia Eagles now officially are America's team, and the NFL is telling you that right now by saying, boy, we're going to release the marquee games right up front, and most of them are with the Philadelphia Eagles, the true America's team, your Philadelphia Eagles.
Catch Moneyline with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down. To coin a phrase, when the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle. Schedule release day around the National Football League. He is Joe. I am Ben. Joe, no more official announcements just yet. But again, if you're looking on social media and you follow Fox Sports NFL insider Jordan Schultz, he's releasing a ton out there. So virtually official, 99% official as well. Every game that has been officially announced, including the Week 2 Super Bowl 59 rematch between the Chiefs and the Eagles, all of those games have a spread, an early total, all of the numbers associated with it. We have brought them to you. Joe, a couple of marquee matchups that Jordan Schultz has reported, again, yet to be official, including a Christmas Day matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings will host the Lions in one of the 3 games on Christmas Day. This one, Schultz reporting, will be aired on Netflix. They ended last regular season against each other in one of the best regular season finales on paper we had ever seen. It was Detroit domination, of course, to win the NFC North, to earn the NFC's number 1 overall seed and send the Vikings into a wild card spot. Joe, you have to think, based on what we have discussed already around the NFC North, how competitive the division was last year, how it played out, and what we anticipate this year. That Week 17 game on Christmas is not only going to be holiday theater, but could have huge implications for that divisional title race.
Yeah, it can. And, you know, you look at Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, too. Last year they played what? The Chicago Bears, so divisional opponents. Yeah. I like when you get divisional opponents playing on Christmas and or Thanksgiving. That's what it's all about. You know, you bring up the matchup about Minnesota. A lot of, you know, questions surrounding J.J. McCarthy. You look at the win total, 8.5, Ben, which, you know, that is a huge number when you just think about it. I mean, to bet that number, betting that number suggests that J.J. is not going to really miss that much of a beat from where Sam Darnold was with that team. Sure. The defenses are going to take a step back. They're going to be dominant in the division yet again, outside of maybe beating up on Detroit. Those are huge. I do not believe I can make that bet for Minnesota, just big picture. Whether they, 8.5, you're expecting them with J.J. McCarthy to be at least a 9-8 football team, and they have back-to-back games internationally. Right now, sell. I can't make that bet and say, wow, I feel good about it with so many question marks. And now you see the schedule with these marquee games on prime time on Thanksgiving and obviously later in the year.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing those games, of course, anybody in the NFC North is going to be difficult. Jordan Schultz saying that the end of week number 1 on Monday Night Football will be Ben Johnson's Bears debut against Minnesota as well. Caleb Williams starting year number 2. J.J. McCarthy, also a top 10 pick from the 2024 NFL Draft, but of course his de facto rookie season. And Lisi, maybe it's lost in a year. There is no doubt about what J.J. McCarthy meant to Michigan football, leading them to a national championship. But you and I were a little bit skeptical that he was talent-wise, production-wise, based on his collegiate career, and not simply on projection, that he was worthy of a top 5, top 10, top 15, heck, maybe even first-round pick. Minnesota obviously believes in him, moving up to 10th overall to draft J.J. McCarthy. And I think there's a few ways of looking at it, right? A 14-win team with Sam Darnold a season ago, even if there's a drop-off, that's a huge gap. 14 wins, win total of 8.5 the following year. And there's still so much offensive talent, of course, in the Twin Cities, namely Justin Jefferson, but Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones is back as well. And a very turnover-prone defense a season ago that was sensational should be mostly back and should be very productive once again. But you're trusting a lot in a quarterback that at the NFL level still needs to prove it, because right now it's all projection, and outside of one preseason game that led to the torn meniscus ending his rookie season basically as it started, we haven't seen anything out of J.J. McCarthy just yet.
Right, and think about this. That's if he was 100% healthy, and he's coming off a season-ending injury to boot. So now on top of the pressure of starting your season, and getting this team to the playoffs, you have to deal with the injury concerns emotionally. That's what we need to see as well. I hope he does it. And for the Minnesota Vikings, he needs to do it.
Yep. Schedule release day in the NFL continues. Up next, live right here on Football Full Circle.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
In a stunning move, Major League Baseball removed Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson, along with other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. That means that Rose and Jackson are now eligible for election into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Commissioner Rob Manfred ruled that baseball's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths. NBA playoffs tonight, the Celtics host the Knicks Game 5 in Boston, with New York leading 3-1. The Celtics will be without Jason Tatum. The star had surgery on a ruptured right Achilles. It happened late in the fourth quarter of Monday's loss to the Knicks. The team said the surgery was a success and that no timetable for Tatum's return is available. Golden State looking to stay alive tonight. They'll try and beat the Timberwolves at the Target Center in Minneapolis and force Game 6 back in San Francisco. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth. And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese.
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and our Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
You're listening to Sports Grid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle. By the end of this Wednesday, every NFL team, that's all 32 franchises, will know the entirety of their full 18-week and 17-game regular season schedule for 2025. The primetime marquee matchups and everything in between, where, when, and exactly at one time for all 18 weeks. Lisi Guy, that includes, at least the report right now, the NFL debut for the first overall pick in 2025, Cam Ward. The Tennessee Titans, as reported by Fox's Jordan Schultz, set to start their season and the career of Cam Ward on the road at Mile High against Bo Nix and his Denver Broncos in year number 2. Of course, a lot of expectation for Nix and the Broncos after a 10-win season and a playoff berth in Nix's rookie campaign. Not quite that same level of expectation for Cam Ward and Tennessee in his rookie year. 5.5 the win total, Joe, for the Titans, but some slight juice on the over. What do you think we will see from Cam Ward at the very start of his NFL career?
I think he'll put up some solid numbers, but I still think he's going to struggle. And I don't think, just keep in mind, Jaden Daniels took a couple of games to get acclimated. He lost his first game out of the belt against Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was shut down for much of the 3 quarters. It wasn't until the fourth quarter, and they were playing prevent, that he decided to put up numbers in terms of a hurry-up offense. I think similar to this matchup against Denver. If you're talking early lines, that would be a line I'd be willing to lay early with Bo Nix in year number 2, Sean Payton, and knowing their defense, and Patrick Surtain and that secondary potentially could make some enforced turnovers over Cam Ward. And what does Tennessee have from a passing perspective? So, meaning wideouts, and outside of Calvin Ridley, they got nobody. So, that's going to be a problem. I would lay it up to 7. I would lay it up to 7 with Denver in that game.
Yeah, and no line set just yet, Lisi Guy, for it, because it has not been officially announced, but you would assume Tennessee's win total 5.5. Again, some juice on the over. But that line is at least 6.5 in favor of Denver with that home field advantage at altitude. For the Broncos, Lisa Guy, 9.5 the win total for Sean Payton. Year number 3, year number 2 under Bo Nix. The under the juice at minus 135. A playoff team that not many people expected to be in the postseason a year ago, that this year is ever so slightly favored to see the AFC playoffs once again at minus 112. More so in wild card consideration as we saw a season ago. They took their lumps in that wild card round against the Buffalo Bills on the road. Despite scoring first, they got routed in that game by Josh Allen and the Bills. But you get to the playoffs. You win 10 games, and then in year number 2, you expect to grow beyond that. What is a fair level of success to expect out of Denver this upcoming season?
Well, I was wrong. I thought, they were in a major rebuild. Sean Payton coached that team up. Bo Nix overexceeded expectations. They did a great job. But again, now there's the optimism. Now you can't go backwards. You can't be, unfortunately, a 7-10 football team. It's just not it's not realistic at this point, especially when you have a battle-tested quarterback that seemed to get better as the season progressed. You need to now build on that. You got to get your first playoff win. That's the goal, because last year you went into Buffalo and you got kicked in the chops. It's not going to be easy. Take the out-of-conference schedule, Ben. I'm just looking at it now. Philly, Washington, you got Green Bay, Cincinnati, Dallas, not easy at all. Obviously we'll see when they play those teams, but 9.5 with that schedule, I might be a little tempered. They might be right on that number at 9-8.
Yeah, it's a good point, Lisa Guy. And at the end of today, right, with the full schedule released, you can get a really good sense of what that win total is going to look like, how difficult that strength of schedule is going to be, or how easy it could be, because all of this is taken into account. What time are you playing? When are you playing? When is that game against difficult opponents? Is it early in the year, middle of the year, off a bye? Just throwing in all of those situations, which the odds makers also use to set the numbers week to week. So it's not just the season-long picture, but hey, are we moving a point or two here or a 1.5 here because they don't have the rest advantage and they've got to travel for their 3rd straight road game? All of those things go into setting the week-to-week spreads. We'll have a better picture of all of that at the end of tonight. Lisa Guy, when you look at the Rookie of the Year odds, by the way, to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, Cam Ward is not the favorite. It's plus 380. Ashton Genty is the favorite for Las Vegas at plus 250. I have often said that we have not seen a ton of quarterbacks in the last decade plus win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but now we've seen 2 go back-to-back with historic rookie seasons. Of course, C.J. Stroud 2 years ago with Houston. Last year, Jaden Daniels in Washington, which I think kind of resets the standard of what we expect for rookie quarterbacks drafted early right away from their start of their NFL career. I don't know necessarily if we have those same incredibly high hopes for Cam Ward right from the jump.
No, again, for Cam Ward, the hope is that, you have a similar type of season where, it's like Bo Nix. You slowly acclimate him into the offense and hopefully he elevates his game, right? Elevating the game and the team could be, 6 wins. If he gets over the 5.5, that's great. But does he have control of the offense? Does he know where he wants to go with the football? Is he limiting turnovers? Is he making all the throws? Those are all ways to judge whether Cam Ward is elevating his game to where you say in year number 2, okay, we have our franchise guy, and now we can move on and put pieces around him. You don't want to see him like Anthony Richardson, where you implement him in the offense. He gets hurt. Obviously, you don't want that, and we don't hope on that. But he's got to make all the throws. I want to see that 60, 65% completion percentage. I don't want to see him down in the low 50s and look like a deer in the headlights. That'll ultimately dictate more than wins and losses where Cam Ward is.
And I'm excited, Joe, how we look at success this year in Nashville for second-year head coach Brian Callahan. But you could argue the offensive mind from Cincinnati last year was kind of stunted behind the 8 ball because of the quarterback play in Tennessee. Well, you got your guy. You got the first overall pick. If there are not those signs of optimism, if they are under the win total of 5.5, is Callahan brought back for year number 3? Because let's not forget, new GM in Nashville, Mike Borgonzi, was not the GM who hired Brian Callahan, but was the guy to draft Cam Ward first overall. How about that second overall pick against a former first overall pick? Travis Hunter will make his NFL debut for Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, it has been reported, against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. 2 teams, Joe, I cannot wait to see this year. Can Liam Cohen reinvigorate the career of Trevor Lawrence now in Duval County? How is Travis Hunter absolutely utilized this year by the Jags? And, of course, can Bryce Young, who was benched early in his sophomore campaign after a dismal rookie season, who built back all that good faith and optimism in the final few weeks of the regular season, can he continue on that now early in year number 3? All of those storylines, Joe, and Dave Canales versus Liam Cohen, the former 2 Bucs OCs now facing off as young head coaches.
Yeah, sort of like that total overall, whatever it is, and whatever they put it in. I might be on that total in terms of week number 2. But for Travis Hunter, the hope is be that second guy, be that Jordan Addison to Brian Thomas, right? The way Addison is to Justin Jefferson. If he can take away those double teams from Brian Thomas, they're going to have an elite offense and put up 30 points per game, and that's what you're hoping, Jacksonville.
Travis Hunter to win either Offensive Rookie or Defensive Rookie of the Year, plus 450. An intriguing bet. 9-1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. More FFC, college football, next.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has agreed to restore climate change-related web pages to its websites after it was sued over the deletions in February. The lawsuit argued that the deletions violated rules around citizens' access to government information. U.S. officials have indicted 2 alleged Mexican drug cartel leaders on narco-terrorism charges. The indictments come after the Trump administration in February designated the Sinaloa cartel and 7 other Latin America crime organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. R&B singer and former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs, Cassie, testified that he abused and sexually exploited her for years Tuesday. She is the star witness for prosecutors who accused Combs of using his status as a powerful executive to orchestrate a deviant empire of exploitation, coercing women into abusive sex parties and becoming violent if they refused. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21. Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called the deposit notification. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
Live right here on Football Full Circle, our final schedule release leak because it's just really good. We got to talk about it from a narrative perspective before we talk a little bit of college football here on the show as well. We're going to get to some drama collegiately in Chapel Hill. Here's some drama right here. Reports are stating, Joe, the Jets will open the season, week number 1 at home against the Steelers in a game that more than likely will feature Justin Fields as the starter for New York against his former team in Pittsburgh. And maybe on the other side, Aaron Rodgers with his new team in the Steelers against his former team in New York. Now, those schedule makers, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and if you think about this game last year, this was the game that Aaron Rodgers got kicked around in the second half of that matchup in Pittsburgh on a primetime game where Pittsburgh just boat raced them in the second half, and it looked like, Russell Wilson was the Super Bowl savior for the Steelers organization, right? He beats up on the Giants and Jets, I believe, in back-to-back weeks. So we'll see. Can Aaron Rodgers have that type of success the way Russell Wilson did early on? We'll see, because now it's going to be much more difficult without George Pickens in that lineup. Teams are going to double-team DK Metcalf. There's no Najee Harris. You have Caleb Johnson. You need a rushing attack to take the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers. Again, I think, and I'll continue to say this, I'm buying the Jets. I'm high on Justin Fields. I think whatever number you set, and I already saw it, I'm taking them to make the playoffs. I'm taking them to potentially be the second-best team behind the Bills in the East. I think they're going to over-exceed expectations. On Pittsburgh's side, I think this is the last year for Mike Tomlin. I think he breaks the record, goes under the total, and I think he's out. He's just had enough at this point.
It is really interesting, Joe, and I don't think the Steelers are all that pleased with how this offseason has played out. Because whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph or somebody else, sure, Pittsburgh can still win 10 games and earn a playoff berth. But that doesn't satiate the necessary level of success anymore. That is not enough for the desire of this proud fan base in Pittsburgh. They want to win a playoff game, something they have failed to do since 2016. They want to get at bare minimum to the AFC Championship, something they have failed to do since 2016. They want to win a Super Bowl, something they have failed to do since 2008. That is the different level of success, Joe, for the Steelers. And nothing they have done to address that at the quarterback position this offseason is going to fill that very large void. I know you are high on the Jets. 5 teams with a win total of 5.5 currently around the NFL. 2 teams hefty juice on the under, Giants, Browns. 1 team pretty even both sides after the retirement announcement of Derek Carr. That's now the Saints. 2 teams at 5.5, pretty good juice on the over. The Titans with Cam Ward, as we alluded to, and the New York Jets, who have not made the postseason in 14 consecutive years, finishing with 5 or fewer wins in half of those 14 seasons. Lisi Guy's saying at least they can get to 6 and maybe even more in 2025. Lisi Guy, this week in Amelia Island, Florida, ACC spring meetings. Football, basketball, everybody there having a good old time. Of course, a big story is getting ready for a new football season, and the biggest story right now in the ACC and maybe off the field in college football, that's Bill Belichick and his personal relationship with girlfriend Jordan Hudson and what it means for North Carolina. There has been so much media conversation. There has been so much fervor on social media about this relationship because of the CBS Sunday morning interview and all of the exposés we have seen. Belichick on SportsCenter yesterday, live from those ACC spring meetings, was asked if it is serving as a distraction for his football program. Basically said all of the media speculation, all of the media conversation, non-football issue. Here's what he said, quote, really off to the side. It's a personal relationship, and she, that being Jordan Hudson, doesn't have anything to do with football, end quote. He was further asked, has he had to have conversations with his players about what they are reading on social media? He said, we talk with our players all the time. We want them to be the best football players they can be, kind of dancing around the specifics of that question. So Bill Belichick, of course, is not going to say it's a distraction. What does Joe Lisi say?
I don't think it is. I mean, if you're a football player and you have the 6-time Super Bowl head coach coming in, taking over for Mac Brown, all you care about is elevating your team potentially to an ACC title and making the college football playoff. And after that, becoming a number 1 or a first-round draft pick in the NFL. Can Bill Belichick and Mike Lombardi and that staff get you there? Absolutely. If you buy in and he buys in, I think Belichick likes this, to be honest with you. You know, I think, you know, you're talking about eyes on the program, negative, positive, it doesn't matter. You have more eyes on this program now than when you did when Mac Brown walked out that door. And that's all you could ask for, you know, in terms of the recruiting aspect. You know, the negativity will leave if he starts the season 3-0 or 4-0. Nobody will care who he's dating, Jordan Hudson or somebody else. So, you know, it just comes down to you got to take care of business. Bill Belichick helps that team and that organization and that university to get to an ACC championship. I think he's rejuvenated. Again, we won't know until we see the talent walk out there for week number 1. But 7.5, I still think is light. And think about this. They're $25 cheaper than where Mac Brown and the Tar Heels were in the offseason last year. And he was supposed to have good talent to elevate and challenge for an ACC championship.
And in fairness to the legend Mac Brown, in his 6 years in Chapel Hill, they always were bowl eligible. They always won 6 games. It's not quite a Deion Sanders situation, taking over for a one-win team after Carl Durrell ran Colorado into the ground. And I'm not comparing it to Deion Sanders, who had great success at Jackson State. Bill Belichick is the best football coach of our lifetime, perhaps of anybody's lifetime, but he has never done it collegiately. And there is a lot of notoriety and attention because of things brought onto the program from off-the-field issues. That is not really the Belichick recipe for success. We'll talk more about North Carolina. Is it an issue? Is it a distraction? What are the odds makers telling us? Up next on Football Full Circle.
Is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channel dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's stark but true.
You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change.
Just be sure to wear gloves.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens.
So whatever the distraction might be in the world of sports, fair or not, winning cures all. So now that North Carolina has become the story of the college football offseason with its new head coach, Bill Belichick, at the age of 73, often a very private individual, and his personal relationship with girlfriend Jordan Hudson have dominated not just the college football, but sports headlines the last 3-4 weeks or so. How does it affect UNC entering Belichick's first year coaching collegiately in his career? Lisa Guy, when there was some rumored speculation that who? Bill Belichick could be Carolina's new head coach, the win total opened up in a special category before every other win total collegiately this year at 6.5. Under had the juice. All right, hey, this guy's a pretty good football coach. Over has the juice. Hey, this guy's such a good football coach that they're going to win at least 7 games, move the win total up to 7.5. Over was juiced on the 7.5 win total. This is kind of a weird situation, though, now around Chapel Hill. Under has the hefty juice at minus 144 of that win total of 7.5. So whether it's the odds makers or the betting public, there's been some changes on how successful we think Belichick and his heels will be in 2025.
Yeah, but, then you take a look at the schedule, and you take the good, the bad, and the ugly. TCU and Sonny Dykes, Charlotte, Richmond, UCF to start the year. They could be 4-0 before conference play starts, and Dabo and Cade Klubnik come walking into Chapel Hill in week number 5. And won't that game be in prime time then, right?
Yeah.
Belichick, Dabo, right? Look, they face Cal on the road. I mean, this is a very winnable. If he gets that defense and he coaches it up and he gets them to a top, let's say, realistically 40 unit, they're going to be there. They had one of the worst defenses in all of college football last year, giving up 35 points per game. What was the game? JMU put up 70 on them? I mean, come on now. What are we talking about? They are going to be consistently better from a discipline perspective if you can elevate the quarterback. Gio. Hey, Gio. Can Gio Lopez take them to the... Hey, Gio, can you take him to the promised land? It's possible. Gio Lopez from South Alabama, mobile, gutty kid, blue collar.
Yeah.
That's all you need to potentially lead your team to 8-9 wins this year.
Gio Lopez, darn good last year for a very good South Alabama offense. He will be the new signal caller, it appears, in Chapel Hill. And again, Bill Belichick, good or not, is a needle mover. UNC season opener at home. They will host TCU. It will be that marquee game on the final day of Labor Day weekend, week number 1, Monday, September 8th, officially announced yesterday, 8 p.m. Eastern time kick on ESPN. Going to be a good time, no doubt, for UNC to start things out. What?
Is that the...
I don't know if it will be out there. That's a good question. Direct-to-consumer ESPN, or is it going to be ESPN, the television channel? There's going to be some Big 12 games this year on Max, which is now being rebranded to HBO Max, which is what it was before it was rebranded to Max. Oh, to be a college sports and sports fan in today's climate, got to have every streaming service available for all of that. Big news yesterday, Joe, not just at the ACC spring meetings and Bill Belichick on SportsCenter. Screams up and down the hallway from one Mario Cristobal for Miami as the Canes land the number 1 recruit in the 2026 class, the offensive tackle from Missouri, Jackson Cantwell, a .9995 recruiting composite ranking courtesy of 24/7 Sports, second highest rated prospect in the history of Miami football. Joe, he is headed to Coral Gables.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Is Mario Cristobal going to have an opportunity to coach him in 26? Because, of course, in fact, and that team limped to a 6-6 record. Big Chest might not be there in 26 with the money that they've been pouring in. A lot of expectations. I saw 7:30 against Notre Dame week 1. Is that confirmed? Yeah. I saw that. So that's prime time. You got Jeremiah Love, Carson Beck. Should be an interesting matchup.
Miami's win total this year, 8.5. The over heavily juiced at minus 188. Big Chest, as Lisi likes to call him, needs to do a lot this year. Squandered an opportunity to play in the ACC title game because it's hard to win in the JMA Dome in central New York in December. He's Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. That does it for Football Full Circle here on this Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Show returns noon Eastern time on SportsGrid Radio.
found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.